Why is nobody talking about how big a bust Josh Gordon has been?
I don't think he's been that big a bust. He came back, went 8 for 120. Second game was modest. I can't remember exactly what he did. And then last game he was a bust and probably got people knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But then again, Demaryius Thomas was a huge bust.
Yes.
Wide receivers are volatile. You know, guys will go 3 for 40 even if they lead the league in receiving for 2 or 3 games. And that's just one of the differences between running backs and receivers, although some running backs have had some really weak games also. Like, look what Eddie Lacy was doing earlier in the year, and now he's a monster. You know, I think 3 games he's been a little disappointing if you held him all year, but I just think it's hard to say someone's a bust, especially a wide receiver after 3 games. Let's look at the whole 6 games that he gets. At the end, you won't care about 17, and then we'll decide whether he was a bust.
And also keep in mind, we keep saying don't care about 17, but when the NFL, I guess, 3 seasons ago, started scheduling all inter-division matchups in Week 17, it has since then created fewer of those games that don't matter and more games that do matter. It's entirely possible that, like last year, there's a lot of most Week 17 games will matter or be between teams that are both out of it, but that's true in Week 15. That was true this week when the Vikings played the Jets.
Yeah, and both out of it is fine for fantasy purposes,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
But the problem is people don't use Week 17 in their leagues.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying it's almost worth rethinking now because the schedule change that the NFL has done to
I see what you're
to have the Steelers play the Bengals,
good.
to have the Browns play whoever the hell the Ravens, and to have all these games at the end of the season between teams inside the division, that has increased the possibility of those games matter, and therefore it makes them perhaps relevant for fantasy purposes. And
That's true.
Everyone, I think, would like it if you could use Week 17. It just buys you an extra week of fantasy.
Unless you want it in Week 16.
Unless you want it in
you
Week
don't
16.
want it.
I don't
So
think anybody was...
there's one guy out of 12 in every league who doesn't want that.
Well, there's 8 guys out of 12 who are not even there. There's really one guy who wants it because he's the guy in the final.
Right.
I don't think necessarily I don't know who thought that Josh Gordon was going to be amazing with Brian Hoyer anyway. Maybe
I did.
You did?
Well, he was amazing with Brandon Whedon last year. He led the NFL in receiving
Yeah,
in
but
14
coming back
games.
after this long of a stretch being off.
I think had Brian Hoyer played like a competent quarterback, even semi-competent, he would have been amazing. I mean, if you look at what actually happened in those games, the 8 for 120 game, he should have been 12 for 210 with 3 touchdowns. I mean, he just missed him like 5 times. And in this game, he missed him. I mean, there were times he was 3-4 yards behind the defense.
I read a columnist this week. I can't remember who it was, and he criticized John Lynch.
Who was the media pitcher?
Yes.
No, it was Chris.
A notch above media.
The notch above media.
And I was watching that at the time, and John Lynch, who was doing the game for CBS, doing the Browns game for CBS, there was a pass that Josh Gordon got his fingertips on while at a full sprint and a full extension. He did not dive, but to me, did not dive because the striding made it impossible to dive.
It was like sideways and behind
Sideways,
him.
he was extending all he could. And here's John Lynch saying, hey, you got to lay out for that, the suspension, because you were suspended. I mean, it was just horseshit. It was a shitty pass. It was the quarterback's fault 100%.
I think even Johnny Manziel on the sideline was caught lip reading, or lip.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Lip read that he would have made that. What does he say?
He said, quote, I think, and this is lip reading, but he said, I would have fucking hit him.
Yeah.
Because he basically, you know,
Hit him,
Gordon
not
was
hit him.
Gordon was wide open, and you know, the pass was overthrown yet again. And so, you know, it's really Mike Pettin. I mean, Hoyer's doing the best he can. He's obviously not a very good quarterback.
He's Kyle Orton. He's a backup quarterback.
He's like poor man's Josh McCown.
Yeah, right. That's right.
He's a poor man's Kyle Orton. Okay, but the point is, he's doing the best he can. He's not that great. It's clear he's not that great. It's up to the coach to make the change. When you drafted a guy in the first round who was one of the best college quarterbacks in the last 10 years, and he's sitting there, that's when you make a change.
And we'll see this week.
And I understand. You were 7-4, and things were working out, and you looked like a potential playoff team, and you didn't want to pull. And then you lost one game where he didn't play well, and you were afraid.
2 games.
Right, now 2.
No, they won one and lost one, but he played horrible in the one they won.
And they almost won this one in a game that had nothing to do with Hoyer. I mean, it was 2 defensive scores is why they were going to win that game against the Colts.
Hoyer had 140 yards and 2 picks. 140 yards passing and 2 picks with Vontae Davis, the best cover corner on the team, out. Okay? With, you know, the best receiver in the NFL, you know, now on his team, it was inexcusably bad. But again, Hoyer is just playing to the best he can. It's the coach at halftime who has to make that switch, and he said he didn't even consider it. To me, that's fireable offense over the loudspeaker. I mean, you're not even considering making a change. It would be like a manager in you know, a do-or-die playoff game or, you know, game leading up down the pennant, and his starting pitcher's giving up like 6 runs in the first inning, and he can't throw a strike, and he's just leaving him out there, and he's not
even
to the
considering
bullpen.
it.
Not even considering.
Won't even pick up the phone. Won't even call the bullpen.
And to me, that's just like, and you have like, you know, a guy who maybe is really good, we don't know. And to me, that's just, it's inexcusable. And, you know, running back fumbles or something, it's like, oh, he's in the doghouse for 4 weeks because he fumbled. You know, it's like Terrence West. We may have to replace him. He wasn't doing ball security. There's accountability for, like, the foot soldier guy, right? But the coach, he's just not accountable. I wouldn't consider it. Next question. No, I mean, that's really bad. There's accountability at the end of the year when their sorry asses go 6-10, they get fired. But, I mean, there should be more week-to-week accountability for these guys.
All right.